Hello, and welcome to Play Your Cards Right, a show where we review individual cards from Star Trek Attack Wing. The card we'll be reviewing today is Worf, specifically the starter set Worf. A Worf that I'm thinking every player probably has. Well, maybe not every player, but I would not be surprised if every player had him. The only players who wouldn't have him are players who either bought the new starter set, lost him, sold him, didn't bother buying a starter set, in which case they just bought like the movement rulers and the other components like the dice all separately. Or they bought a starter set secondhand and the card was missing. Anyway, he's a card that I have used like maybe 3 times. It's not like the best card. I should probably explain sort of how I judge cards. I judge them sort of on a point scale. If it's a 1-point card, probably a meh card. Probably not the best card. Probably a discard. If it's a 2-point card, it should be like, alright. 3 points cards should be good. 4-point and 5-point should be like really good. I might change my mind on that sort of scale later. But, Worf. What can we say about Worf? Well, I think the quickest way to summarize his card is he's a worse target lock. But when you really look at him, he isn't necessarily a worse target lock. He's more like a different target lock. Worf lets you re-roll your dice. All the dice in your attack, and you have to keep them. So it doesn't get the precision quality of a target lock, where you can specifically choose to reroll your blanks or battle stations if you don't have the token. This, you have to, even if you get a critical, you gotta reroll that critical, and you might end up with a much worse roll. And it is a disable, but it isn't a discard, and that's good, because I'm not a fan of discards that are more than 2 points. Unless they do something really, really good. So you might be wondering, why would I want Worf? I mean, he can't even trigger torpedoes, so he's not even, like, functionally a target lock. He just lets you re-roll attack dice. Well, let's say you want to attack a cloaked ship. And you want to be able to re-roll your dice. But you can't because it's a cloaked ship, so you can't get a target lock. Worf lets you re-roll your dice. You also, depending on the rules, it says you must re-roll. Well, I should probably have started by reading the card out. Disable this card to re-roll your entire attack roll. You must re-roll all the dice and keep the results of the second roll. Depending on how you roll it, you might be able to use additional modifiers if you have upgrades that modify them. If you want to get really technical and very literal, you might interpret the must as applying to the keep, so you are not allowed to modify the dice with other upgrades, if then this card is a little worse. But I think that this card is good against cloaked ships, because you normally can't reroll your attack dice when attacking a cloaked ship because you can't get a target lock. I think that this could also be really useful on ships like the Prometheus or the Scimitar with a really high dice damage, like 8 dice attacks. Because if you roll that 8 dice attack, and then you spend your target lock to re-roll it again, and then you use your battle stations, and if after all that, your dice roll still really sucks, you can just throw Worf down, and he'll fix it for you. Maybe. He's sort of like a last resort. Honestly, because of the situations he can be used in, if you aren't battling a cloaked ship, I think it would be better if Worf was a 2-point discard. Or, yeah, I think he would work as a 2-point discard as opposed to a 3-point disable. Because the only time I think I would really use him is either cloaked battling or if I had a super weapon and I missed. And I only own, like, one super weapon card. I do have a couple combo cards that can build up to, like, an 8 dice attack. But at that point, I don't know. So I guess he's useful. Now, it's important to note that just because he isn't the best card doesn't mean he's a bad card. And what I mean by that is, if you are starting the game, and you do not have all those super cool cards that do all this amazing stuff for you, you have Worf. And you can use him to supplement, to support your ships if you don't have those other cards. He is a good card if you don't have those other super amazing gold tier cards. So yeah, he's good. He's a good stand-in when you're building your fleet. He's good for that. He's good for attacking cloaked ships, and he's good for desperate situations where you just really screwed up. Sort of the natural one of attack wing, when you roll everything and you fail. So that's what Worf's good for. Also, it's Worf. If you want to make a fun ship that's like, oh, this is my, TNG ship, and you want a Worf, throw Worf on there. Like, if you just want to do it for like a campaign, sure, throw Worf on there. Maybe you're making, if you're running a campaign, you're making an NPC ship. Toss Worf on there. That's interesting. It might invest the player in it more, because it's like, oh, it's Worf. I don't want Worf to die. So yeah, he's an offensive crew card for Federation. 3 points. He has his uses. There are cards that do it better, but those cards are really good cards. He's just a good card. Wow! Mediocre card. Yeah, I would say he's mediocre to me, because I never use him. And when I say there are cards that do it better, I say the best use he has is probably attacking cloaked ships. But there are so many other combos out there that attack cloaked ships a lot better. But if you don't own the Excelsior, you don't own the Hood, you don't own the... Basically any Excelsior class ship seems to be built specifically for attacking cloaked ships. Which is pretty cool, I think. But, yeah, if you don't own any of those, sure, throw Worf on. You're battling some Romulans, you just started the game, or you just don't TOS era ships, so you don't own an Excelsior, then yeah, get yourself a Worf. I think my fan on my computer just turned on and it's ruining my audio. Anyway, so that's it for this episode today. We covered Worf. Next episode, I think I'm going to be covering another offensive card called Noah Lessing. I think he's also going to be good for attacking cloaked ships, but in a different reason. Bye!